What rules were put in place because of you? As a kindergartner, I once fell asleep in the bus. When I woke up, the bus was in the garage, and I had to yell to get someone to get me out. So to this day, every bus driver in my school district needs to walk to the back of the bus and check every seat before they park the bus. Seems like a good rule to have. One of my favorite childhood moments sometime in 3rd grade. I got watermelons banned from handball. Watermelons in our school were when you could duck under the ball in place of hitting the ball against the wall. Only your torso or head were allowed to go under the ball and count as a watermelon. My fine moment came when I made a diving leap headfirst on a low hit because I knew my opponent was too far away to recover. Unfortunately, I did it face first, and I slid along the gritty concrete and skinned half my face off. I had to wear a face bandage for at least a month. I made it. Everyone agreed it counted as a watermelon. I won that round and had to go to the nurse's office. 100% would do it again. The next day, watermelons were banned, and everybody hated me while high-fiving me at the same time. Minor one, but when I was in elementary school, we had one of those bridge building challenges using toothpicks and hot glue. My partner and I realized if we just coated the entire thing with a thick-ass layer of hot glue, it would make our bridge strong as hell. So, we used like a full pack of hot glue sticks, like 20 of them. It was more glue than toothpicks. So after that, they limited the number of glue sticks you could use. In history class in high school, there was about 10 of us really close friends. We would take every opportunity to make "your mom" jokes. A couple months into class, the teacher made us sign a treaty, promising to stop making fun of each other's moms. We signed it, and started making fun of each other's dads. My junior high made a rule against yo-yos in class after I tried to do a trick and my yo-yo flew across the room and broke a glass beaker set. I'm sorry, guys. I put a croissant in one of those hotel toasters. It soon became engulfed in flames and needed extinguishing. Next day at breakfast, they made a sign that said, "If you'd like your croissant toasted, please ask a member of staff." My elementary school was located in the center of the neighborhood, and my 5th grade class was the first to get outdoor trailers for classrooms. We'd ask for bathroom passes and then walk home. Next year, they built a fence around the school. English media class in high school. End of year project was to film a movie. Me and 3 other guys decided to film a gangster movie. Long story short, while filming the final shootout scene behind a local post office, we were swarmed by police and almost got shot. One of the guys got arrested and my teacher almost got fired. The following year, the curriculum was changed, and the final project was now an essay to be completed on a popular movie. Edit, I guess I'll add more details. We were filming a shootout scene behind the post office. What we didn't know was that there was a retirement residence right next to it. Apparently, several of the residents called 911 about a bunch of kids shooting each other outside. 5 police cruisers rolled up and surrounded us. They all jumped out with guns drawn. "Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Get on the ground!" We were all face down on the pavement with guns to our heads. A minute later, one cop is like, "They're fake. They're all fake." The officers were upset. They ran our names and unfortunately, the one guy that had nothing to do with anything gets arrested. I felt so bad. He wasn't part of the class. Just last second, we asked if he'd help us film, and he agreed. They take the rest of us back to school where we're sitting in the office as a police officer reams out our teacher and a principal. "I almost shot a bunch of kids. Why the hell are you allowing this to happen during school hours? What kind of project allows guns?" My younger brother was always late to school and was tardy. He figured out if he just skipped first period and went to second, he was counted as being on school and no late penalty because he was at the second period on time. They changed this the following year. Back in the day, a radio station had a weekly trivia contest. The prize was a free pizza and movie rental. Somehow my mom figured out which book they were using for the trivia questions. She bought it and memorized all the answers. Each week we would call in immediately. Sometimes we were the first, but even if we weren't, it didn't matter because other people were usually just guessing. We won almost every time. Even though we changed up who would actually make the call, they eventually figured out we were all from the same household. So, they made it a rule you couldn't win if your family had already won in the last month or whatever. Up till then, we enjoyed a lot of free pizzas. No playing with the bean sprouts during recess. Next to the playground at my elementary school, there were 2 or 3 northern catalpa trees. I didn't have many friends in elementary school, so sometimes I would sit on the edge of the playground and play with the bean sprouts. By play with, I mean I would pick them up off the ground and fully peel them apart, putting any actual beans or seeds in my pockets. Anyway, other people gradually started doing the same thing until eventually there were just recesses when a lot of people would just play with bean sprouts the entire time. As more people began playing with the beans would just end up everywhere in the school. On desks? Beans. On the floor? Beans. In baskets? Beans. It became a definite issue, and with beans come bugs. As a result, they banned us from playing with the beans. I was kind of a bad kid, and while my school allowed us to use laptops, I would play video games, primarily Warcraft 3, in class. No sound or anything, so I wasn't being a complete nuisance, but I wasn't doing my work. A teacher told me I couldn't use my laptop. I happened to have a 1950s Remington Quietwriter portable, all-mechanical typewriter. It was anything but quiet, with all of the taka-taka-taka-taka ding you'd expect from a typewriter. After one full day of studiously taking notes and doing my assignments via typewriter, my teacher said I could use my laptop as long as I didn't bring the typewriter to class. I was a teacher who coached debate and took the team of high school students on weekend tournament trips. I had new rules every year in my coach, and I privately called them the name of the student. The Jess rule was that if you assaulted anyone, you were sent home. The Annie rule was no debating in fake accents. There was the Dylan rule, which was no communal porn watching in the hotel rooms. Jess rule number 2 was do everything you can to vomit into the garbage can or toilet, and not on the floor. Jess rule number 3 was no yelling at nurses in the ER that you are a virgin when they ask you to take a pregnancy test. Jess rule number 4 was we can cut you off after 12 minutes of no stop talking. Jess was a character, obviously. I used to work for a company that had flex hours. You could work all you want but no overtime. So I would work 4 10-hour days and then take 3-day weekends. That lasted for about 2 months before my employer made a rule that we had to be there 5 days a week. Then I used to come in at 4 a.m. to avoid traffic, skip lunch, then leave at noon, and nobody noticed for about 6 months, but they figured out I was not coming back after lunch and changed the policy so I could not come to work until 8 a.m. So, I started working lots of extra time and started banking my flex time and saved up about 430 hours by October, and was informed by HR that I could not roll it over in the new year, so I scheduled a 12-week vacation. They made a new rule over that too. When COVID hit and I had to stay home, I figured out I could do a side gig, so I got a second work-from-home job and worked both until I got caught, and they laid me off. After that there was a new rule. I just like hacking the systems they set up. They were so difficult to work for that I wanted to figure out a way to make it work for me. A friend of mine in a military school found out the regs never stated what color the bed sheets for a bed made for inspection had to be in. So, this madman went and bought Power Ranger sheets and made the perfect regulation bed. I have never seen so many SGTS lose their shit but be unable to do anything since the regs were perfectly followed. Needless to say, the next year they were updated to state sheets must be plain white. When I was walking home from school, I had to walk next to the road to get to my house. I decided to see if I could walk with my eyes closed. I didn't feel the transition from gravel to road, and the cars didn't honk at me, because they thought I was deaf. I heard a noise, looked back, and ran off the street into an orchard. 2 weeks later, they put up deaf child area signs on both sides of the road I live on. No sign language during silent lunch punishment. My lunch period was so loud we got put on silent lunch for over a month straight. I decided the only clear solution was to teach my entire table sign language so we could still talk without getting in trouble. Apparently, it was unfair to the kids who didn't know how to sign, so we had to stop. My elementary school pet and hobby fair now strictly says pet submissions cannot be human. I dressed up my little brother as a bat, and registered a pet bat and my chicken for the parade. Come my turn, everyone heard Chris with his chicken lady and his pet bat Greg. He was on a leash, flapping around and hissing at people who were watching in the crowd. No more human pets allowed after that one. Back in elementary school I remember there used to be this kid who followed me everywhere and actively tried to hurt me. When talking to a teacher about it they went, "He just has a crush on you." The next day I walk up to the kid and shove him into a wall. After that there was literally a rule in that grade. Don't follow other students. That backfired poorly. I got Windows remote access rights suspended for everyone at a Fortune 1000 company. One of my coworkers was annoying the absolute hell out of me, so I decided I would prank him. I wrote a little script that would RA me to his PC. I waited until he left his desk for a few minutes and did the prep work on his PC for permissions. For about 3 months I was driving this guy insane. He'd walk away, I'd RA in and close out Windows, open new Windows, send him blank emails from himself, cancel print jobs, change his background, change his homepages in Internet Explorer, even messed with his host file to reroute him to certain websites, etc. I even got brave enough to do it a few times while he was at his desk since he would text often, and you could hear the iPhone texting sounds throughout the office. It was going great until I took it too far one day. I changed his keyboard scheme from QWERTY to Dvorak. He was the sort that would just type while looking at the keyboard and assume everything was coming up on the screen fine, so he sent out a few emails that were pure gibberish except for his signature. Someone responded back with just a question mark. He freaked out and contacted ID thinking his system had a virus. I remoted and switched it back to QWERTY, But I didn't do it fast enough and IT caught me. A memo went out to all employees stating that the only approved methods for remote access were programs X, Y, and Z, and that the native Windows RA was disabled from there on out. No dice or regular playing cards. My friends and I created monsters of our fellow classmates by getting dice games and poker games started at lunch. Soon people were throwing dice in the hall and calling hop bets before class. My best friend and I kept a sheet of those who owed money to the house. Someone's mom called the principal and complained that her son owed some other students $50, and he keeps spending all his money. We would still throw dice for a while in the back stairwells or the outdoor area at lunchtime. We collected about half of the money we were owed, around $350. After that we turned to selling candy bars and soda from our lockers. That got banned too, but we finished selling our stash. It was a profitable senior year. No bouncy balls in the bathrooms. In middle school we had a school store that sold supplies and these tiny bouncy balls. The bathrooms in this school were narrow and made of brick from floor to ceiling. I discovered that if you threw a bouncy ball in the bathroom as hard as you can it would bouncy until the end of time. Get 3 to 4 of your buddies in the bathroom with a ball of their own, you now have an epic game of life and death. It became the most popular sport the school has ever seen. People were even placing bets. When one kid had to explain that his bruises didn't come from his parents, my operation was shut down,